Her mother never loved her because she wasn't the firstborn. But the truth she's about to uncover will shatter everything she thought she knew. And change her life forever. What dark secrets lie buried in her past, waiting to be unleashed? Stay until the end to find out. Rain hit the rusted tin roof like 1,000 angry fingers. The wind howled through broken windows. Inside, the kitchen smelled of damp wood and burnt rice. The girl, barely 12, stood barefoot on the cracked tile floor. Her toes were cold. Her stomach growled. She clutched a bowl with trembling hands. "Mother," she said softly, "may I eat now?" The woman turned. Her face was sharp like shattered glass. "You wait," she snapped. Her voice was dry, brittle like paper burning. "You are not the first child. You do not come first." The girl lowered her eyes. The bowl trembled in her hands. She heard the TV in the next room. Her older brother laughed, chewing loudly. He always ate first. He always got the warm food. The girl always waited. She turned away, her stomach twisting. The rain outside grew louder. Thunder cracked like a whip in the distance. She stepped toward the back door. Her feet sank into mud. She walked behind the house, where the garden used to be. Only weeds grew now. And something else. Small wooden box. Half buried in the wet earth. She had never seen it before. The lid was carved with strange symbols. Not letters. Not numbers. Just sharp, jagged lines. She knelt. Her knees touched the soaked ground. She reached out. The box felt warm. Too warm. As if it had been sitting in the sun. But the sky was dark. She opened the lid. Inside was a mirror. Framed in black metal. Its surface rippled like water. She saw her face. But something was wrong. The eyes in the reflection blinked first. Before she did, the mouth smiled. But her own lips stayed still. She leaned closer. A whisper rose from the mirror. "Weep," said her name. And then it said, "She hates you because she knows the truth." The girl's breath caught. "What truth?" she whispered. The voice replied, "She is not your mother." The ground beneath her pulsed. The weeds writhed. The air grew heavy like thick syrup. From the doorway the woman screamed, "Get away from that box." The girl turned. The woman's eyes were wide with terror. Not anger. Fear. Real bone-deep fear. The girl looked back at the mirror. The reflection no longer matched her face. It was older, colder, and it mouthed something she could not hear. But she felt it. Inside her skull. Like a nail twisting. The girl stood. She picked up the mirror. Felt light. Too light. The woman's footsteps pounded through the mud. "Put it down," she cried. But the girl only watched her. Her heart no longer pounded. Her hands no longer shook. The mirror pulsed. And she saw something buried beneath the weeds. Second box. Long. Wrapped in rotting cloth. A small, shriveled hand stuck out. The same ring her mother wore glinted on its finger. The girl stared at the ring, then back at the woman, who stopped running, and whispered, "You were never supposed to find her." The girl's grip tightened around the mirror. The sky cracked again with thunder. Lightning lit the garden in flashes of blue and white. She stepped closer to the buried box. The smell hit her. Old blood. She did not flinch. The woman, no, the stranger, was trembling now. "I raised you," she said, her voice cracking. "I fed you. I clothed you." "You lied," the girl replied. She pointed to the ring on the skeletal hand. "That is her ring." The woman looked down. Her mouth opened, but no words came. The mirror pulsed again in the girl's hand. She could feel something waking inside it. Something ancient. Something watching. "You took her life," the girl said. "And you tried to take mine." The woman stumbled back. Her foot slipped in the mud. She fell hard, hands scraping against stone. The mirror shimmered. The reflection showed not the girl anymore, but the real mother. Soft, skin pale. She looked up through the glass with silent sorrow. The girl knelt beside the second box. She began to clear the earth away. Her fingers dug deep, pulling at vines and bones. "No!" the woman screamed. "You do not understand what you are doing. You are breaking the seal." The girl paused. Mud dripped from her hands. She looked down at the wrapped body, then at the mirror. And the mirror spoke again. This time it was not a whisper. It was a voice full of wind and ashes. "She tried to steal your place. She bound your mother's soul in silence. She called you hers, but you were never hers." The earth beneath them trembled. From the edges of the mirror, black vines began to grow, twisting, crawling, reaching for the woman. She screamed and tried to run, but the vines caught her ankle, pulled her back into the mud. The girl stood still, her eyes calm. As the ground began to open beneath the woman, the sky above turned a deep violet. The wind roared through the broken windows of the house. The mirror glowed in her hands, and from deep within the earth, a voice rose that was not hers, and not the mirror's, said, "Thank you, my child." The girl closed her eyes. The voice wrapped around her like warm smoke. For the first time in her life she felt safe. Not in the house, not with the woman, but here, in the storm, with the truth. The vines tightened around the screaming stranger. Her hands clawed at the mud, but the earth swallowed her inch by inch. Her cries grew hoarse, then silent. The ground sealed itself with a final wet sound. The garden was still again. Only the rain remained, falling softly now. The mirror dimmed. Its surface turned to glass once more. But the girl's reflection had changed. Her eyes glowed faintly. Her skin shimmered with a faint silver hue. She felt no fear, no grief, only clarity. The wrapped body beside her began to dissolve. The cloth peeled away like fog. Bones turned to dust. A small silver pendant remained in the soil, shaped like a crescent moon. The girl picked it up. The metal was cold, but it pulsed gently in her hand. She placed it around her neck. It settled against her skin like it had always belonged there. Behind her the house creaked. Its walls sagged. Windows shattered one by one. The roof folded inward, as if the house itself knew its time was done. The girl turned her back to it. She walked toward the trees beyond the garden. The storm parted above her. Soft light poured through. The wind whispered again, but this time it said her name with love. A name she had never heard before. Not the one the woman had given her, but her real name. The name her true mother had spoken only once. Before everything was taken. Before the lies. And now, with each step into the woods, the girl felt the name blooming inside her. Alive, powerful, and ready. The trees welcomed her. Branches bowed low, leaves shimmering like silver in the light. The path beneath her feet glowed faintly. Soft moss cushioned each step. She walked deeper into the forest. The pendant around her neck grew warmer, pulsed in time with her heartbeat. She could hear whispers in the wind, not menacing, but familiar, like lullabies sung in a forgotten tongue. The forest felt alive, not just with birds and beasts, but with memory, with magic, with truth. She paused by a twisted oak. Its bark was carved with the same jagged symbols as the box, only now they glowed faintly. She reached out. Her fingers brushed the bark. A spark leapt from the tree to her skin. It did not burn. It opened something. A flood of images burst behind her eyes. A woman in a white robe, holding a newborn. A fire in the distance. A shadow stealing through the night. Scream. And silence. The girl gasped. She stumbled back, clutching the pendant. Tears welled in her eyes, uninvited. But they were not tears of sadness. They were recognition. The memories were hers. Taken. Hidden. But now returned. She wiped her face. She stood tall. In the distance, beyond the trees, a light glowed. Not fire. Not lightning. But something ancient. Sacred. She walked toward it. The forest opened into a clearing. A circle of stones stood tall, weathered with age. In the center a pool of still water, clear as glass. She stepped to the edge. The pendant began to hum. A low melodic sound. The water shimmered. And from within, a figure began to rise. A woman cloaked in moonlight. A soft smile, warm. The girl knew her instantly. Not by memory, but by bond, by blood. "Mother," she whispered. The woman reached out. Not to take her hand, but to place something in it. Carved from bone, etched with those same jagged marks. The girl closed her fingers around it. And the ground trembled once more. But this time it was not destruction. It was awakening. The trees stirred like they had taken a deep breath. The air thickened, charged with something ancient. Beneath her feet, the soil warmed. Roots shifted, as if stretching after a long sleep. The girl looked down at the bone key. Felt heavier now. Alive. The woman, her true mother, nodded once. Her eyes shimmered with sorrow and pride. "You were hidden," she said softly, "to protect what lies beyond." "What lies beyond?" the girl asked. The woman raised her hand, pointed to a stone in the circle. Unlike the others, it had no moss, no cracks, just a single narrow slit, the exact shape of the key. The girl stepped toward it. Each footstep echoed with a strange resonance, like walking through a dream. She reached the stone, held the key in both hands, and slid it into the slit. Click. Pulse shot through the clearing. The pool behind her rippled violently. The wind stopped. Even the trees stood still. A deep rumble. From the earth. From beneath the stone. The circle of stones began to rotate. Slowly. Grinding against the earth. The ground opened in the center of the circle. Not a hole. Staircase. Descending into darkness. The girl looked back at her mother. But the woman was fading. Her outline dissolving into soft light. "You must finish what I could not," she said. Seal what she tried to unbind. The pendant around the girl's neck flared with light. She stepped to the edge of the stairwell. A warm wind rose from below. It smelled of old books, wet stone, and something metallic. She took a breath. Her fingers brushed the key still lodged in the stone. Pulsed again like a heartbeat. And then she descended. One step. Then another. The air grew colder, darker. But she was not afraid. She could feel something moving far below. Waiting. Watching. And as the light from the surface faded behind her, a voice echoed up the stone walls. It was not human. Not entirely. It said, "The blood has returned." The sound curled around her like smoke. It slithered into her ears, her bones, her breath. Every step downward made the voice louder. Not in volume, in presence. Filled the space. It filled her. The walls of the staircase were slick with moisture. Symbols carved into the stone pulsed faintly as she passed. Some glowed red. Others throbbed like bruises. The pendant guided her. Its light flickered with each heartbeat. The air was thick now. Heavy with age. With secrets. She reached the bottom. The staircase opened into a massive chamber. The ceiling arched high above, lost in shadows. Torches lit themselves along the walls, one by one. Blue flames, cold and silent. At the center of the room stood a stone altar. It was stained dark. A cradle of bone rested on top. Waiting. The girl stepped closer. Her footsteps echoed across the chamber. The voice returned. Lower now. Reverent. You were meant to rest here. But your breath was stolen. Your life misplaced. The girl touched the altar. It vibrated beneath her palm. A tremor of memory passed through her skin. A vision struck her. She saw a woman, her true mother, bleeding. Carrying the cradle through fire. Whispers behind her. Shadow chasing. Chamber shook. The creature paused. Just long enough for her to speak the words now rising in her mind. Old words. Buried words. And as she spoke them, the altar answered. The cradle filled with light. And the darkness screamed. The scream shattered the silence. It was not a cry of pain. It was rage. Ancient. The torches flickered. their blue flames bending toward her. The creature lunged. Its limbs twisted, no longer shaped like anything human. Its jaws split open. Rows of black teeth writhed inside. The girl did not move. She spoke the next word. Clear. Dark. The air cracked like glass. The light from the cradle surged upward. A column of blinding white flame. It struck the ceiling, burned symbols into the stone. The creature shrieked again. Its skin peeled away in sheets of smoke. Fell back writhing. The black ooze pouring from its eyes hissed as it touched the floor. The girl stepped forward. Her feet no longer touched the stone. She was floating. Her hair lifted around her. The pendant burned like a star against her chest. The symbols on her arms pulsed in time with her heartbeat. She pointed at the creature. You are the one who took her from me. You are the one who wore her face. The thing tried to speak, but its mouth was gone, melted. The chamber rumbled again. From the altar a shadow rose. Not black, but silver. It formed the shape of her mother. Larger now, brighter. She opened her arms. And behind her the stone wall cracked. A doorway revealed itself. Not made of bricks, but of stars, the sky, of everything lost. The girl turned to the shadow. It did not speak, but its warmth washed over her. And the final word came to her lips. Not taught. Remembered. She spoke it. The creature let out one last sound, then collapsed into ash. The chamber fell silent. The altar dimmed. The cradle closed. The stars in the doorway swirled. And the girl, still glowing, still silent, stepped toward the threshold. She did not ask where it led. She already knew. The stars parted as she approached. Their light shimmered like water disturbed by a single breath. A wind blew from the doorway. Not cold, not warm, but full of voices, familiar ones, laughing, singing, calling her home. She stepped through. Her foot touched nothing, but she did not fall. She floated forward, wrapped in light. Behind her, the chamber began to fade. Stone melted into mist. Symbols unraveled. The altar sank into the earth. The cradle dissolved like frost in morning sun. The past was sealing itself. What was broken was mending. And yet, ahead the light shifted. The stars grew closer, forming shapes. Not just sky, not just space, but places, rooms she remembered from dreams. A forest untouched by time. A river that ran with silver. A voice whispered near her ear. You were never meant to sleep beneath the false name. You were born of oath and fire. And now, you must choose. Before her 2 paths unfolded. One lit in gold, winding through a great hall of mirrors. The other shadowed, lined with thorns that pulsed with faint light. One held truth, the other power. She stood still. The pendant around her neck glowed once, then fell silent. The silence was heavy. Her heart beat loud in her ears. Each path pulled at something deep inside her. She reached out, and her hand brushed the mirror path. The glass rippled. Reflections of herself flickered past. Not all were her. Molder. Some twisted. Some broken. She turned to the path of thorns. Its ground cracked with heat. Whispers curled from the shadows. Not all of them sounded human. She took a breath. Closed her eyes. The stars above pulsed, waiting. And then, she stepped forward. Not toward light. Not toward shadow. But into the space between them. Where no path was carved. Where no footsteps had ever fallen. The stars gasped. And the doorway behind her shut. The silence that followed was not empty. It was full of watching. Of waiting. The space between the paths pulsed beneath her feet. Darkness and light folded into each other. Colors that had no names rippled through the void. She walked with no ground beneath her. And yet she did not fall. Her body felt lighter. Like memory. Like breath. Shapes drifted past her. A spinning spindle made of bone and thread. A crown of teeth. A child with no face, holding a lantern. None of them spoke. but each bowed slightly as she passed. She did not ask why. She understood. They knew what she was becoming. She reached a new threshold. Not a doorway. Veil. In. Silver. It shimmered like the surface of still water. Beyond it she saw nothing. And everything. She stepped closer. Raised a hand. The pendant around her neck flared. And split open. Inside was no gem. No metal. Only a single burning eye. It blinked once. Then turned its gaze outward. Toward the veil. The veil shuddered. Pulled back. Low. Resisting. Then gave way. Behind it was a throne. Floating. Built of roots, feathers, and bones of things long extinct. And on it, nothing. It was waiting. Waiting for her. She did not tremble. She walked forward. Each step echoed through the void like thunder. As she approached, the throne breathed. Once. Then stilled. She reached it. Stood before it. A voice filled the space. Came from below, above, within. You are not what they made you. You are not what they feared. You are what they buried to keep the world asleep. Sit. He turned. Looked behind her. There was nothing now. No path. No doors. No stars. Only this moment. His choice. Her fingers brushed the arm of the throne. Pulsed like flesh. She closed her eyes. And sat. The void screamed. Not in fear. In release. And then the world began to change. Light burst from the throne. Not blinding. But warm. Like sunrise after a long, starless night. The void rippled outward. Its darkness peeled back. Revealing fragments beneath. Forests reborn. Mountains unbroken. Skies without shadow. She sat still. But everything moved around her. Time bent gently, folding like silk. The throne rose higher. Rooted in nothing, yet touching all. She felt every heartbeat in the world. Every tear shed in silence. Every name forgotten. She held them. Not as a queen. But as the one who remembered. The one who chose neither path. But became the path. A breeze swept through the veil she had crossed. The stars returned, no longer distant. They bowed to her. The sky whispered her true name. The name stolen, hidden, rewritten. Now spoken again without fear. She opened her eyes. And the world opened with her. Old walls cracked. Old lies crumbled. Those who had slept beneath sorrow began to rise. Children awoke with songs in their mouths. The wind carried laughter where silence once ruled. And in the deepest part of the forest, where the house once stood, wildflowers bloomed in the shape of a cradle. The girl, now more than a girl, smiled. Not because the story was finished, but because it was no longer hidden. And in the breath between worlds, she whispered, "Let no one be forgotten again."